Hi, I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about the reflection assignment that caps off our semester. This will be the last video that I do for the class, and I want to give you some tips on how to think about the rhetorical situation of this assignment and how to start brainstorming for it. So we're going to look at highlighted parts of the assignment description together and then give you some ideas for how you might start brainstorming, which you'll then have to move into figuring out how do you want to outline your draft of the reflection assignment. So you're thinking about organization and stuff like that. So in the weekly tasks and assignments folder, I'm going to click on Project 5, Reflective Letter. This is a task that you should be working on during weeks 14 and 15 with the final project due on the 27th. So that's partway through week 15. In this project, you're going to be doing exactly what it says, reflecting on the work that you've done throughout the semester and to explain how the work you've done in this class has helped you make progress, changes, development in your writing and research processes. So the introduction or rationale for the assignment begins with these 4 questions. Prior to this class, what did I know about writing and researching in my discipline? So not writing and researching overall, but specifically in business or biology or education or nursing, whatever the discipline is that you are looking at. When enrolling in this course, what did I want to learn about writing and researching in my discipline? What did I actually learn about writing and researching in my discipline? And so that third question is really like focused on what you found through the practice of looking at research, reading articles that were written in your discipline, actually working through a research proposal in your discipline. And then also think about how your writing and researching practices have changed throughout the semester. What kinds of things have you learned to do differently, or not if you haven't done something differently through all of your writing, research, and practices, but you figured out ways that you have to approach certain tasks differently? That would be a useful way to think about that. And it breaks down here what writing and researching practices might include. So these 4 questions here are not an organizational tool, they're a brainstorming tool, which means they're there to give you ideas about what you might write about in the letter. So keep that in mind. I would say starting with a blank piece of paper or opening a Word document with these questions and just typing away about what you think about each of these could help you brainstorm some good ideas. Some of you have done reflective argument essays in classes like English 1020, so you'll be familiar with this part of the prompt right here that talks about course learning outcomes. This is a little different than what you might have done before because it doesn't require you to talk explicitly about all of the course learning outcomes. Rather, this note suggests that in order to organize and connect the letter to the course in the most productive way, you'll use the course learning objectives to guide your reflections. So you might pull from parts of the course learning objectives that you find relevant, and those again are the writing and reading and researching and reflecting objectives. If there are a couple of specific parts of each of those objectives that fit with your experience, your growth in the class, then you might write about those. Now, why is this important? Why would you bother connecting your experiences with writing and research to the course learning outcomes? Well, this is where you want to think about the rhetorical situation of this assignment. You're writing a reflective letter, and you're writing this reflective letter to me, your instructor, to show how your work has met the objectives of the class, how you've grown, how you've changed in your writing and research. You really want to prove to me that you've learned something through the work that you've done. In an online class, this gives you a special opportunity because I haven't gotten to see many of you in person. If we were face-to-face in a classroom throughout the semester, I would get a sense of your process work much more fully. than I do through the computer. I would get to see you working on things and coming up with ideas. And as it is, I only get to see what you actually submit or what you email to me. Or if you did come see me in my office, the things that I get to hear are the things that you're telling me about. So you want to be persuasive in the sense that you show that you understand what you're supposed to be learning in this class and that you've actually made some growth and progress on some of those things. So when I look down at the assignment prompt, you use this first sentence to really focus your objective here. Spend time brainstorming, pre-writing, and drafting a reflective letter that describes to me, your instructor, in detail how the course has helped to produce changes in your knowledge, skills, and practices as evidenced by the writing and researching you've completed throughout the semester. So let's focus just on this one word right here, evidenced. You need to show me through examples of your writing or your research practices that you have produced these changes in your knowledge, skills, and practices. So just like I ask you to integrate evidence from your research in the projects we're doing this semester, in this project you'll integrate evidence from your own writing. There are a few other guidelines that you want to make sure that you follow here. Making direct reference to at least 2 of the projects you wrote this semester, one of which must be the formal research proposal. So actually, since that's the thing we've been building toward, it makes sense that you would want to show how your growth and progress has resulted in certain moves that you can make or ideas that you're framing in that research proposal. But you could also talk about blogs, other short assignments we've done in the class. Make sure you cite those things. Have a goal for the reflection. So just if this is a reflective letter, think about any letter that you write somebody. If it's a letter that you wrote to somebody in your family when you were a kid on a trip and telling them how it went or what you're excited about, if you ever wrote a letter to someone telling them how you feel about something, if you ever wrote a letter to try to get into a college or try to get into to get a scholarship, you had a clear goal. So make sure that you have a clear goal for what you want to convey to me in this letter. And then a really good idea would be to workshop this paper with your peers. Find a friend from class, maybe somebody who you've worked with before in peer response, and email them. Ask them to read your paper, and you can read theirs, and think about the elements of organization, think about specificity, think about evidence, think about does it read well. That's all going to be really important in this project. So one thing that you might notice when you look at the assignment description is that there is no length assigned for this project. This project should be as long as it needs to be for you to do the job. But you also, again, should think back to the rhetorical situation and what you have to do. So you're writing a letter that I will read in its entirety as I am your teacher and that is my job. But, letters can be pretty long if there's a lot of information to include. But they're not going to be like 10 to 15 pages long. So this is not like a memoir of your work in 3010. But, I think somewhere around the 3 to 5 page mark seems appropriate for this assignment. If it needs to be a little bit longer than that, that's fine because there is no assignment limit. And if you think that it's going to take you much more than that and you have any questions you want to ask me, let me know. But remember, you're supposed to talk about growth, progress, changes, and you have to provide evidence from your own writing. And you have to do that convincingly. So it's not enough to just throw down a few sentences and be like, these are things I learned. And you also shouldn't do anything like, it was the best class ever and blah, blah, blah. Like, this is not suck up time. This is time to prove that you did what you wanted to do in the class or to show how you have grown and changed in your writing and research practices. So keep that objective in mind because that's what I'm going to be reading for. And I think that's all I have to tell you about it, but please feel free to come see me during office hours to ask questions. I'll send you a memo about a group conference this Friday. I'm not sure if we're going to have one because only a couple people have come. So it might not be worth our time, but like I said earlier, I encourage you to work with peers on this project. So I hope that you're having a good end of your semester. And if I haven't met you yet and you have questions, I hope that we get the opportunity to talk. Thank you.